Hey everybody, how is it going? It is your pal Sal here. Long time no see, but I am super excited to be back with a vlog and a review. So today is April 30th and it is a big day in the musical theater world. For starters, the Tony nominations got announced today, which was, I didn't see that coming. I should have known, but I didn't. And today in Chicago is the world premiere, the first preview of the Pre-Broadway Tryout of the musical Death Becomes Her, based on the iconic film which stars Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. So much like any gay man who appreciates their culture, Death Becomes Her is one of my all-time favorite films. I do own it on Blu-ray. I got this Shout Factory exclusive when it came out in like 2015. And before that, I even had it on Laserdisc and the old DVD. And so I've loved this film for many, 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 many years. And so when they announced that they were turning into a musical like a few years ago and that Kristen Chenoweth was doing the readings, I was like, this is gonna be incredible. And here we are. A few years later, and it's having its tryout in Chicago. Like I said, tonight is the first preview, so I am very aware of that going in. I specifically went to this night because I wanted to be I'm literally going to be one of the first ever people to see this show. And I'm also sitting front row, which was a little pricey, not as pricey as some other seats actually, but this seat opened up sometime last week, and I was like, I'd already been looking, and I was just like waiting for the right moment, and when I saw that there, I was like, I'm gonna have to be there. So I'm super excited about that. I do have to pick up my ticket when I get into the city at the will call because I still like to have a physical ticket, but I'm very excited for that. And also the show is starring one of my all-time favorite Broadway icon queens, Miss Megan Hilty. As a giant fan of Wicked for many years, having those LA bootlegs of Megan Hilty as an icon in them, and of course being a loyal member of Team Ivy from Smash, I couldn't be more excited to see her live on stage. Also, I'm not as big into stage dooring anymore, mainly because I try to get home as soon as I possibly can to go to, bed. But because she is an icon, and just in case there's the possibility of her coming out of the stage door, I am bringing with me to get signed, just in case, her CD, which I absolutely love, Walk Away. What's the other one that, oh my God, Walk Away and No Cure. The CD, man, I love it. And I am also bringing my original 9 to 5 playbill, which you can also see has already been signed by Stephanie J. Block, coincidentally right next to Megan Hilty. But just in case, I thought I'd bring it, see, you never know. But I thought I'd take you guys on with me along for a vlog for the night, and then tomorrow when I get back, well, I'm gonna get back tonight obviously, but I'll film a review of what I thought of the first preview. But I thought it'd be cool to capture this night because, a first preview is a really, really big deal. I've had the opportunity to go to the first previews of The Cher Show when it had its tryout here, The Notebook, and Big Fish years ago when that had its tryout. So I'm very excited about this, and I hope you guys will come along with me for the ride, especially if you're a giant Death Becomes Her fan. I know what's up. Ernest, I know what is going to happen tonight. Hopefully no one will be pushed down the stairs, but because there's a lot of stairs actually at the Cadillac Palace in Chicago, so there's that. So come on, let's go. One of my favorite shows is currently playing in Chicago for 3 weeks, and I'm hoping to see this next week with good old Mamma Mia. Cadillac Palace. So you can get closer. Alright, so here we are, right up by the park. It's nice flyer there. Thanks.
wish I was back there with the things I've been wanting. They have me spring
No mistakes. I don't know what you're talking about. It's all part of the play.
It was awesome. I'm so glad you like theirs. There's that.
Oh, that one's mine. Thank you.
This?
Go for it. He has a marker actually.
Would you? This one? Got it. Here you go.
Thank you so much. Sorry, hon. Thank you.
Thank
Hey everybody, it is Sal here. So it has been currently 2 days since I saw Death Becomes Her, and in those 2 days I've had the time to process my thoughts and feelings on this show that I did get to see in Chicago, and I've also had the chance to, read what people have said on Reddit, and what people have said on the Broadway World message boards. So I feel, now I can finally sit down here and talk about what I felt after seeing this. As I said in the beginning, I'm a giant fan of this movie. I've loved it for many, many years. And seeing it live on stage was just absolutely incredible. I know that there's a lot to say for how commercial Broadway has become, and Patti LuPone says it's a theme park these days, which to an extent I don't think she's wrong, but there is something very magical about seeing something that you love very wholeheartedly live on stage, especially starring actors you really, really love as well too. So all in all, for a first preview, it was actually fantastic. I kind of had like this secret hope in my heart that it was going to be a disaster. Not like, I know that sounds mean, but I've always read, online of like disastrous first previews, and people are like, I was there, and I was like, maybe I could say that, about me one day too. But no, everything actually went pretty well on its first preview. There were a couple of line flubs here and there. There was one point where I noticed a stage crew member like lifting up a curtain, but other than that, it was pretty much flawless in terms of just a performance and how it ran. Obviously, because it was a first preview, it was very aware that there were some cuts that needed to be made in the future. The first act did run for about an hour and 20 minutes, and which did feel a little long. There could be a few nips and tucks there, but the second act was like a brisk, like 45 to 50 minutes. It was really, really quick for the second act. But okay, so where should I truly begin? So anyways, here is a flyer for the show, just in case you wanted to see that. I did, the merch that they have is pretty nice and decently priced. I got this magnet for $10, which, is always good to have. Here is my ticket. Right there. And then here is my playbill, which I did end up stage drawing. I will detail that at the end of the video. I'm sure you saw the clips earlier. Yeah, here's my little signed playbill, which it's signed by the one ensemble member whose name, he actually had the second most roles out of the two ensemble members, Taurine Everett. Is signed right somewhere on here. And then it was also signed by Christopher Sieber and Miss Michelle Williams, which was interesting. So we'll go into that all in a second. So in terms of cast, the show actually doesn't have anybody billed as anyone else but the four leads. Like, that's it, and nobody else on the playbill is listed by a character name. I do want to give a shout out to Josh Lamont. He plays Madeline's assistant, and he's flawless in the role. Like, he was so funny, and I loved every second he was on stage. Now with our four main leads, so Megan Hilty, it was an honor to see her on stage. As I said before, big Wicked fan, big 9 to 5 fan, big Smash fan. Coincidentally, like 2 months ago, for the first time since it probably aired, I decided to rewatch all of Smash, and she was glorious in that. She was glorious in this. I will say what was really nice is that everybody differed very much from their roles in the movie. I feel nobody felt like they were a carbon copy per se. Megan's Madeline Ashton, if we will, I feel like Meryl's was more grounded in reality. And I feel that this Madeline Ashton has kept, what's the word I'm looking for? Reality, at an arm's length. Like, it's never there anywhere near to her. Like, hers felt like a more stage appropriate Madeline Ashton. I guess the perfect way to say it is because I feel like even though they're both like film actresses in both the movie and the musical, this was definitely a more musical approach of Madeline Ashton versus the movie star of Madeline Ashton. Again, even though like she refers to herself as a movie star in the show still too. It was very, much more theatrical, if we will. And she was just absolutely wonderful. The one thing I will say though is I don't feel as though she got to showcase her vocals as much as I would have liked. She does have a really fun song in the beginning and one towards the end of Act 1. But they're kind of a little more, one's like, a big showy number, all that type of stuff. And the other one is a little more pattery, if you will, like different, like it definitely, we get to see different sides of Megan's acting in this for sure. But I don't think vocally it showcased her as much as I thought it was going to. But we do have all those, lovely recordings of her in Smash, so we know what she's vocally capable of. So it was nice to see actually a different side of her. Now with Jennifer Simard, her Helen Sharp, I thought was a lot more, this time actually more realistic than the movie version. I feel that she gets more groundedness in her insecurities. She has this really pretty song in the first act, which takes place after she has her first meeting with Madeline, called That Was Then, This Is Now, where she talks about like how she's had to struggle over the past, years of her life of dealing with, feeling like she was in Madeline's shadow, but like building herself up to be a better person. Now that she has Ernest, she feels like better, which, you don't need a man to feel better, but in that case, she, I guess she did. And there was a lot of really nice moments that I felt that Jennifer Simard had. The one thing that was bothering me towards the end of the day, I don't know if this is how Jennifer speaks in her normal everyday life, but her manner of speech was reminding me of someone, and I couldn't put my finger on it, for the 2 days, and then finally it hit me today, is that I do feel like sometimes the way she delivers her lines, she sounds a little bit like Jennifer Coolidge. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I don't know if that was just maybe me being crazy and maybe that's just what I heard. But after thinking it through in my head, I was like, is she almost it's weird. I don't know if that's something that she's doing for this character or if that's her speaking voice. It's not like she's impersonating Jennifer Coolidge, but there were times where I thought she sounded like her. I don't know. That was just me. Christopher Sieber is an absolute standout because I think Ernest isn't necessarily a hard role, but I don't know if it's an easy role either. I will say compared to the film, he's probably looks the most like his film counterpart, with those glasses. They did the costumes absolutely perfectly. I loved every second he was on stage. He was really funny. He actually, I feel out of the two characters, I really enjoyed this number he had in the first act, which I believe was called Till Death. Basically, it just showcases Madeline's career falling out around him, spiraling down, and their marriage spiraling down too. And he gets a really funny number in the second act. I think the scenario of the song was more funnier than the song itself. But it was like, I'm Ernest Menville, damn it, because he's trying to figure out the way to make them look young forever. Spray paint and all that. Michelle Williams, who was our Viola Van Horn. Now, Michelle, it was very obvious from my perspective, and I think from what I've read online, Michelle did seem very nervous on this first preview, which, I guess is expected, but it was also kind of shocking too, because I'm like, this woman has performed on the Super Bowl. How could she be nervous? But it was very clear that she was, and I don't know exactly what they were going for this with this character. So in the movie, Viola Van Horn, played by Isabel Rossellini, has a lot of mystery to her in the movie. There's not much to her character, but I would say if you were to give her one word, it would be kind of mysterious, mysteriously sexual, if you will. And I feel like even though Michelle Williams is beautiful, I never got a mysterious vibe from her whatsoever. And it was funny too, because everything surrounding her was mysterious, like the set of her house and everything. But, Michelle Williams, to me, I just felt like she was kind of there. Now, this could also, again, be chalked up to first preview nervousness. So I'm wishing her nothing but the best, that she finds her character, if you will. I will say out of the four of them, she was the one that just didn't seem to have a character. Now, granted, I don't think that the book was helping her as well either. Not to say that, technically her character was just copy. She's probably the least changed from the movie in terms of what's written on the page, I feel. She does serve more as a narrator in the story. She does open up with this number, where it's where is it? It's something like, I have a secret I'd like to tell you. And it was a really fun opening number, and she opens, and she's got her big cape and all that. The one thing I will say about her opening number though is, so she opens the show, okay, before anybody else comes on, and she tells us about the elixir or whatever it's called. The vial. We see the vial. They open the vial. All of that. We see her, big cloak thing that she has, and then coincidentally, when she comes back into the story, when Madeline goes to see her, to get the potion, she has another number that's called Sempre Viva, which basically just says the exact same thing that first song said. And it's kind of a shame too, because I liked that first song better. And the way the show is presented, and even in the movie it's presented this way, it's when Madeline goes to that house, it's the first time we see Viola. But with the show, it's not the first time we see Viola. So her entrance didn't feel as, grand as I think it should have. And one thing I do remember is that they have these stairs that Michelle Williams was coming down, and she looked, this one I understood for her, because she was clearly very nervous, because I think her dress was still a little too long, and she was going down there a little slowly, and I was like, okay, be careful, like, take your time, Michelle. But like the mystery of her was just not very much in the show, and again, I'm hoping that they work that out and she finds herself in the character, because vocally she sounded stunning, and physically, oh god, she's stunning, she's gorgeous. I'm like, yes, Michelle, she can handle it. Michelle, you can handle this. I know you can. you can find your character in this. So. Now, just like a couple of other things to go on here, because I don't want to go into too much. The one thing that I will say for this being Death Becomes Her, the musical, I don't really feel that the score was all that interesting. There were some nice moments in it. Like I did like the opening number. Then Megan has her number, which is called I Do It For The Gays. Now, I thought it was originally for the gays, because that's basically what they're saying. And there's all these different, gay men that come out. We see Megan dressed as Liza. We see Megan dressed as Dorothy Gale. It's a very lavish, beautiful production number. And again, it's not for the gays, it's for the gays. And they confirmed that with a shirt that they recently put out, got a gays at her. That was a really fun number. And again, I did enjoy the song that Jennifer has, which is called That Was Then, This Is Now. It's a really pretty thing. The one thing that I guess this isn't, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but this score for the musical incorporates, actually coincidentally, a lot of the score from the movie, which was composed by Alan Silvestri. And I know that because I have listened to that score multiple times. I have that new deluxe edition that came out that for the first time ever, the score was available on streaming in the past couple of years. But before that, I've had it ripped into my iTunes and all that. That was really cool. Like the fact that they incorporated a lot of the score from the movie into the music for the musical. But one thing I find out is that in the playbill, I couldn't find Alan Silvestri credited anywhere in the playbill. And they even use the song "Me" in it in a different way, which I'll get to in a second. But that I thought was very odd. But I did love that. But in terms of the music itself, none of the songs were they were just kind of there. They weren't bad, because I don't want to say anything is ever truly bad, but it was neither here nor there. It was just, there were just songs in it because it was a musical. That doesn't mean that they necessarily weren't enjoyable. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Megan and Jennifer have a duet towards the second, at the end of the second act, but there were parts of it that didn't feel genuine to me, because they're like, we'll be together forever. But I didn't feel I was like, yeah, but they're going to hate each other by the end of it. I think there was an irony to it, but I wasn't picking up on that irony. I'm trying to think if there was, yeah, it just felt like the songs were just there. I guess if that's a way to put it. Some of them didn't even feel like they had clear beginnings or even clear ends. There was this one scene, it's where, actually, this isn't in the movie, but after they have their first meeting, Madeline invites Helen over for dinner, and then we see them, together at dinner talking, ha ha ha. And then Megan sneaks Ernest off, to go give him a grand tour. And then, poor Helen sitting there all alone, sad. She doesn't know what to do. And then it almost seems like a dream sequence is about to happen. And in fact, the show presented it as a dream sequence, but it ended up being the real sequence. It was just a really odd transition to me. Again, first preview, so I don't know if they're going to, change that, work it out, do what they got to do. But, again, like I said, it was strong. I think, oh gosh, what should I also bring up? In terms of special effects, I have read that some people feel like they kind of copped out for some of them. For especially the scene where, Madeline gets pushed down the stairs, they very quickly switch out Megan Hilty for an ensemble member who does this slow, fall down the stairs. And it's actually really kind of funny how they do it. And I did enjoy it. It was very camp, that part. And then she falls down the stairs. It's the ensemble member, and then whoever was playing Madeline at that moment, is creeping up, moving their body weirdly, hides behind the couch, and then Megan does pop up, and she has this, I guess it's a piece, or it's probably just makeup. I don't know if it's prosthetic too, but across her neck that makes it look broken like it is in the movie. And then I don't know how they did this. I imagine it was she had a trick head, or her body was, I don't know, it was something, but it makes it look like the head falls, and that was really cool. And for the second act, when, she shoots Helen, it's all off stage, and then it's a projection on the back. So we hear, well, actually, we don't hear, because, one of my favorite lines from the movie is, you brought this on yourself. And then, she shoots her. And we don't hear any of that, but we hear the gunshot off stage, and then there's like a big projection screen on the back, and we see like a body flying across the stage. It's very similar to, I feel, how they did the Mean Girls scene, you know, where Regina gets hit by the bus. It's all the projection and all of that. What else? So then when she shoots her, Jennifer Simard comes back on, and there's just like a nicely defined hole, I will say. Like, they added layers to it, which I did enjoy. But then it's just like a black hole, and I was just like, I wonder if they could have done something even... I don't know what they could have done, but I don't know, maybe something. And then that was the gist of the special. Oh, and like also the scene where she's like, I'm a girl again. I don't think that went quite as well as it possibly could have, because like you could almost barely notice Megan's boobs rising. And I was front row and I barely could, I was like, did it move? I couldn't really tell, if I'm being honest. So I think that's an effect that they're probably still working on perfecting. And again, you have to see the movie to kind of understand what I meant by that. But, there is that. In terms of just like a couple of little differences from the movie to the musical, it follows everything, you know, pretty closely. The only difference is, so when the movie now the musical starts, in the movie she's, you know, starring in this musical version of Sweet Bird of Youth. And it's like a flop, clearly, no one likes it, yada, yada, yada. So with the musical, Madeline's starring in a musical called Me, Me, Me. And I think we're seeing her at a higher point in her career, because it clearly, I mean, when you have a number like that, it can't be, you know, not a hit. Especially, I do it for the gays, come on. Which is interesting that we see her, and then we get to see more of the fall, because then her and Ernest get married, and in the course of Ernest's song, we see her, like, you know, going through different... you know, career struggles, you know, they want younger, they want it tighter, yada, yada, yada. And then she's like, oh, I got this, you know, show, or she's like, this will be my comeback. And then Me starts playing, but it's like, I see Me, rejuvenizing cream, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, and they're like, look scared, look like you're aging, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I can't do it, I've never had to not play beautiful. And then she's like, why is that girl wearing the same dress as me? And it's like a younger woman. And they're like, well, she's the after. And then she's like, who's the before? And then she's like, she's like, it's me. They don't do any of the fat suit type of deal. So when Helen is in the asylum, she's just an asylum. It's not like she's a fat cat lady anymore. I will say I get why they did that in 2023, but it does get rid of one of my favorite lines of the movie, which is when she finds out what Helen's book is called, and she's like, eternally, or forever young. And eternally fat. Again, that's a joke that I don't think flies in 2024 as much anymore, but still will make me laugh every time I watch that movie, and I don't care. So now Helen's book is not called Forever Young. It's something to do about like when I don't exactly remember what it was called, but it's basically like stars who have fallen from grace, and Madeline's like, she wrote this about me. And so they go to the book party, and then that pretty much plays out the same. In fact, actually, they combine the book party scene with the scene where she meets the guy who gives her Viola Van Horn's card. So that's a nice combination there. She goes to the house, yada, yada, yada. So where things differ is that they kind of condense things a little bit. So when Helen goes to see Ernest, she's telling him, I love you, narcanol, push her off the thing, everything, the number ends. Madeline walks in, so at this point, Madeline's there, and they get into a fight, and now Ernest doesn't push Madeline down the stairs. Helen pushes Madeline down the stairs, which I thought was an interesting, fun way of doing the scene. The only thing I will say is that I think Ernest, you pushed me down the stairs sounds funnier than Helen, you pushed me down the stairs. And then that's where Act 1 ends. And then Act 2 begins with the three of them going to the hospital and finding out she's dead and all that. Whereas in the movie, it was just Ernest and Madeline. And one thing that was funny, because they changed one of the lines and gave it to Helen, but it's like, she's in the morgue, she'll be furious, but like, it's just, she's thrilled about it. And then they go back to the house, and that's when, this is like a big motivation change though. So in the movie, when Madeline shoots Helen, she's doing it because she's fucking pissed. She's like, I'm gonna kill her, I'm done, what do I have to lose, whatever. But in the musical, she does it because she realizes that she's taken the potion as well. And she's like, oh, okay. And then so when Helen tries to run away, she shoots her, and he's like, what are we gonna do with the body? And she's like, well, to bury a body, we would need a body. And then there's like a knock, and then Jennifer Simard walks in because, she took the potion. And then from there, things play out the same. They go to Viola's and all of that. Now, the one thing that is a little bit different is, so when they're on the roof, he's gonna fall and whatever, and then he decides not to jump. And then coincidentally, Viola pushes him off, and she's like, have fun seeing Shakespeare, and then pushes him off and does all that. And so that's a little bit of a different bit of plot there. Madeline and Helen are like, what are we gonna do? And they're like, we'll have each other, and then and they have a beautiful, gorgeous duet. And then the ending of the show is ever so slightly different. We're at a funeral, but it's not Ernest's funeral. So we see Madeline and Helen, it's about 50 years later, and they're coming to, put memorials on their gravestones. And what's really funny is that Madeline has this elaborate gravestone, and Helen's gravestone is much smaller. And they're like, she's like, I don't know why we're coming here. People never seem to visit us. And then Madeline's like, people come to visit me. I'm an Academy Award. And then Helen goes, nominee. No one visits the nominee. So it was so funny. I wish I could detail also, by the way, every joke that they've done, new ones that they've added. The whole show had the audience laughing from start to finish, and that I absolutely loved about it. Again, the audience the gays were out for the show that night, and I'm sure they'll be out for most of the nights too, because this film is a gay, icon itself. Anyway, so they're at this funeral, but it's not for Ernest, it's just for some random person. But then Ernest comes out, they're like, is that Ernest? And they go and talk to him. He's like all old, and he's got his wife with him, and he's like, I lived a happy life, and I have love, and blah, blah. And they're like, boo, because, they're still young and gorgeous forever. But then they realize that they're like, wouldn't it be nice if we could finally have a finale to our story, but they can't. And this is interesting because it almost combines both endings. So if you're a giant Death Becomes Her, fan like me, as I'm sure many people know, there's a lot of deleted scenes from this movie. There was a whole extra extension to the original ending where I guess Tracy Ullman was a part of it. And I know that the script is leaked, but I've never read that, but there's just a lot of deleted scenes from this movie. And I guess the original ending, which I watched the video about this a few days ago, it was basically Madeline and Helen like sitting on a mountain, and they looked the same, looked beautiful as ever, but they were bored. They were so bored. Everyone around them had died. They had nothing really left to live for. And they see Ernest with his wife and at this supposed mountain. And I guess apparently Goldie shed one small tear, and that was the original ending for the movie, but they cut it because it didn't do well with Tess. And in a way, this new ending that they've written for the musical combines both ideas. It still has that funny ending of where'd you park the car and the snarkiness, but them as characters also realizing, well, what if we could have that ending, but now we're young and beautiful. I think it's kind of like a best of both worlds situation with the ending that they did. And what's also really funny is that there's this giant statue on stage. I think it's like a Grim Reaper or something like that. And I thought Michelle Williams was hidden in it, but no, that wasn't the case. But they leave, and then Michelle Williams just rocks on really, really quickly, and she's like, don't say I didn't warn you. Blackout, curtain. So yeah, and again, also with costumes, big gowns, beautiful gowns. Those photos of the curtain call have already made their way online. They were stunning. I think if this show goes to Broadway, I think it could easily win Best Costumes for the Tony Awards. And hopefully nominations for Megan and Jennifer, and honestly Christopher Sieber too. I could see those all happening. All in all, I had a very fun time. I am hoping to see the show again before it leaves. My goal is to go to the final performance, because I want to see it, from the very beginning to the very end. Maybe I'll see it one more time in between too. Who knows? We'll see. Here's hoping. Maybe I'll win the lottery for one of the nights. But I've also heard on Reddit and Broadway World that they've already started making changes, which I already knew that they would have. I can't even go into detail about everything. And this review is already 23 minutes, so I've already babbled on for too much. But I had a really fun time. I'm hope that the show, does the work it needs to do while it's here in Chicago, and I wish them nothing but a successful run. Oh, I should say really quickly before I go, just the stage door. This stage door did remind me of why I don't really stage door as much anymore. It was worth it to try and meet Megan, but there was just way too many people there for me. I felt like I was being I was in a herd of cattle, and I was like, I can't do this. I hate this. And Michelle Williams came out, and she said no pictures. And so I thought that that meant like she wasn't taking pictures with people. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever, you know, fine, you know, no, but she was signing for everybody, and but then her bodyguard was there, and bodyguards are, I hate saying this like this, or security guard, but to me that they are some of the worst people that have ever existed. I hate security guards so much. Like I was just filming because I was like trying to get, you know, content for the vlog, and then the man starts screaming at me, and I was like, she's fine. I was like, but you know, whatever. I was like, I'm not, who do you think I am, TMZ? Like, okay. And then Megan and Jennifer did sneak out from the side, but they all got into the same car as Michelle, and they did wave to us, you know, from there and all that. But Michelle did, Miss Destiny's Child herself did come out and sign for everybody. She was signing the playbill. I saw her sign a couple of Destiny's Child things that people had brought, so she was really sweet. And, but again, I didn't get my CD signed by Megan, so it's all cool. It's okay. It's cool, it's chill. But all in all, I had a really fun time. But yeah, so if you have the chance to see it while it's having its tryout in Chicago, I do highly recommend it. If you love the movie, it is a very fun stage adaptation. I don't think the musical aspect of it lives up to what I would have liked it to have. But either way, it's cool to see it live. Like, honestly, even if it was just a play, I think I still would have had a great time. Because it's just such a funny story. But yeah, so that's what I got to say. At almost 26 minutes, I think that's where I'm going to need to leave that at. So thank you so much for watching. I hope I'll see you guys soon. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. If you saw it, what did you think? Put it down there below. Don't forget to comment, like, and share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at Salvador J. Rocha, Twitter at Sal Says Stuff, and TikTok at SalRocha1. And I'll see you guys ever so soon. Siempre viva. Live forever.